All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode 8 of the Enter the Geek Matrix podcast. As always, I'm your host, Matrix, and everyone give a warm welcome back, a long-awaited welcome back to my co-host, Obi-Jon Kenobi.
What's going on, everybody? Glad to be back.
Yeah, so John took a break from the podcast. We had a guest host last week. By the way, everyone, give a special congratulations and a big shout out to Patty Cakes, who was our guest host the last episode. Today's his 2-year stream anniversary. He's actually currently live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Patty Cakes. Be sure to go check him out, man. Show him some love. That's awesome to continue to kind of go through and do that grind for 2 years. It is absolutely amazing. I love Patty. I had a great time on the podcast, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely a great accomplishment, man. 2 years is a long run, and hopefully many more. Congratulations.
Well, I tell you what, man. As a small streamer, it's it can be hard, man. It's a legitimate grind. It really is, and to stick it out for that long it's quite an accomplishment, really.
Oh yeah, man. I don't doubt that. It's anything for 2 years, man. That's definitely something to be proud of, and he's a great guy. I loved watching him on the podcast while I was on break, and he's a fantastic dude. You should definitely check him out.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we have a lot to talk about. I laugh, but it's funny. This podcast has almost quite literally turned into a Star Wars based podcast, which I mean.
I've noticed that too.
Well, and I'm not mad at it by any means.
Right.
No, I mean, I'm not. It's just funny, but so much has been going on with Star Wars. Just, I mean, over the past 2-3 years, and there's just a lot to talk about. There's always a lot to talk about. They continue to pump out, new stories, new news. It's never ending at this point, and I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, and cranking out good content too. I mean, I think after Disney took over the Star Wars franchise, they have been milking the hell out of that cow.
Absolutely. Well, they knew they had a good thing when they got it.
Yep.
You want to
It's a
talk
cash cow.
You want to talk about a good business decision? That right there, they knew what they were getting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So on the last episode of the podcast that I had Patty Cakes on, obviously we talked about The Mandalorian. We filmed that episode of the podcast I think it was like a week roughly after the last episode. And so even before the podcast started, Patty and I were talking. We were like, yeah, we could talk about how epic that episode was, but we don't really want to spoil anything. Because about 2 weeks is kind of the given standard. And at that point, you know what? You're just not a real fucking fan if you haven't seen it after 2 weeks. I mean, I'm sorry, But
I honestly think 3 days is too long if you're a fan.
Absolutely. I mean, dude, I have a hard time giving people more than one, truth be told. I mean, God, dude, I mean, so on Twitter you can sign up, and I actually had it. I have it for a couple things, but the whatever the show or whatever the case may be will post, and it's like or whatever this tweet, and then you'll get notifications for each new episode. I do it for every fucking thing I see. Everything I see. And then immediately I get a notification that morning, hey, this new episode just aired, and I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing after work.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's a smart use of social media, man.
It really is. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
Not that in my mind I don't know a new episode's coming out that day because I'm a fan, but it's nice to have that reminder. Like you wake up and you're like, fuck, I got to go to work, and you get that reminder and you're like, oh shit, guess what I'm doing after work?
Hell yeah. Hell, man, I forget stuff like 20 minutes after I think about it. Yeah, I would need reminders too.
It's nice to have that reminder. So, like I said, since we didn't really talk in detail about the last episode of The Mandalorian, since we've had some time now, I feel like we can talk about it now. Yeah. I mean, now it's no holds barred. Spoiler alert, like if you haven't watched it, what rock are you living under? You need to get the fuck out of there. Turn on a TV and sit your ass down and dive into the awesomeness that is The Mandalorian.
Yeah, the space bounty hunter cowboy western, it's fucking amazing. It's a great concept.
So this season, pretty much in its entirety, was pretty epic. There was a lot that happened.
Yeah, they have revealed a lot. Like what is it? They revealed, well, obviously Baby Yoda's name. That
Mm-hmm.
was a big one. They also had some appearances by some fan favorites and some great characters. Ahsoka Tano.
Yep.
So I mean, it's been such a fucking great season. Even I was totally in love with what is it, Ty Cobb, Timothy Olyphant,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and you and I have
Cobb
just
Vanth,
yeah,
Cobb
yeah.
Vanth.
So
Ty
you and I
Cobb
have
was a
talked about
baseball
that
player.
personally, and I just love Timothy Olyphant regardless.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, what? And speaking of Ahsoka, not only is she apparently getting her own series, but she's apparently signed on for like 3 other films or something like that. So
nice.
yeah,
That's
there's
awesome because Rosario wanted to play that. Rosario Dawson wanted to play that role, and I'm glad she got it, and she fucking killed it.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh hey Mandy, how you doing? But yeah, so me and Patty, we already kind of covered the season thus far. Today,
Right.
we can finally talk about that fucking ending.
There's so much in it though. There's like I think as far as I can remember, there's like 3 or 4 main parts of the ending that are all just separate fucking things. They
Hmm.
just dropped a shit ton in that last episode.
Right.
So what do you want to get into first?
Well, I think we need to talk about the proverbial, the biggest part of it. And let's talk about that goddamn cameo right there at the end by the infamous Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker. I mean, come on, man.
So I knew who it was the moment I saw a lone X-wing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We were all rock hard when that happened. We were like, yeah.
I saw the lone X-wing. I was like, an X-wing never travels alone
Mm-hmm.
unless
Mm-hmm.
it's Luke fucking Skywalker.
Man, that whole scene, and it was so well made because you saw the X-wing, right?
Yeah.
You see this cloaked figure. It's a dark cloak, very Luke-esque,
Oh
but you
yeah.
don't
It's
yet know.
reminiscent of Jabba's palace.
Right, but you don't yet know it's Luke. You haven't quite got that legitimate 100% confirmation. You see a green lightsaber, okay, but is it Luke? And then you get that picture, and you're like, oh fuck, it's Luke.
So yeah, dude, I won't lie. Like one of the parts that got me was I was watching it. I saw the gloved hand. I was like, "That's Luke." And he pulls out the lightsaber. And I was like, "Show me that green blade." And he clicks it on, and it's security footage in black and white. I'm like,
Yeah.
ah,
Yeah.
like they knew somebody was like with the deep Star Wars fans are going to be like, "Come on, show it to me." Like let's see the reveals.
Well, you know what's crazy, man? And I saw a video of this. It was a side by side video, and we're gonna get into another part of this too. But that whole battle scene with Luke, coming through
Hmm.
the halls was just epic in itself. It
Yeah,
was amazing. But if you look back, that Darth Vader scene in Rogue One, at the very end, him coming through the halls and battling the rebels, right?
right.
It was almost a callback in itself. It was very reminiscent of the same scene, and I
Yeah,
thought that was just absolutely amazing. Like kudos to
like his
John.
father before him.
Kudos to John Favreau. I mean, god damn it. What a treasure! That is a national treasure, a national
Oh man.
treasure in the Star Wars universe. Like really,
No, dude, he's a national treasure. Period. Like, he's a great actor. And a lot of people love to hate on him, but he's a great actor. He's directed what is it? Movies in the MCU. He directed Iron Man for God's sakes.
yep,
And then he directs The Mandalorian. Like, he's just a phenomenal figure in Hollywood. He's great. I love all of his work.
absolutely. I mean, he's quite literally the kind of fan base. He's the kind of person, the kind of fan base we try and pull with this podcast. I mean, just the stuff that he's into and the things that he does. I mean, that's into the Geek Matrix all fucking day.
Oh hell yeah!
You know.
I'll tell you what though. In regards to John Favreau, there's an old movie that I love with him in it. Not a lot of people have seen it. It's called PCU,
Hmm.
and it is. I think it's like early '90s movie, and it's got John Favreau acting in it. And the whole movie's great.
I think the earliest film I've seen with him in it was Swingers, which is a classic.
Swingers,
Yep.
yeah, Swingers is awesome too.
Well, you gotta love Vince Vaughn anyway, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I think PCU came out before that because I remember it did have Janine Garofalo when she was young, and like it had a. I have to look up to see what the cast was, but it had a lot of famous people in it.
I might have to check
And
that out.
George Clinton and Parliament Funk show up, and it's yeah, great movie.
Right. So, we get that whole battle scene with Luke, and it's very reminiscent of the same scene you get with Darth Vader in Rogue One.
Hmm.
But that's not the only moment we get that is that reminiscent of that father son dynamic. You get that moment right there at the end when Mando is about to hand off Grogu to Luke, obviously, so Grogu can go and train under Luke, and Grogu gets to finally
And eventually
see.
die under Kylo.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, we don't know that yet. He could have got away. He could have got away. Don't
Twice in his lifetime.
don't break hearts out here, man. Okay.
Twice. I don't know, man. If I was a gambling man, I wouldn't take those off.
It's a long shot, but you know what? We hold out hope. Okay.
Yeah.
But so you get this scene of Mando, and of course we got to see Mando's face in an earlier episode, the episode with Bill Burr. Shout out to Bill Burr, by the way. God damn, what a phenomenal actor, really.
That character went through so much development in that one episode. It was insane. Like he went from some obscure, slightly cool mercenary to just damn, I love this character.
It really that episode brought some humanity to him. Because at first it almost just seemed like in appearance as a side character. All right, you were in that episode, great, good job, Bill Burr. We'll see you at your next stand-up special. But then they brought him back, and you're like, holy shit! Like this is a legit character. I mean, he's really out here, doing his thing.
Yeah.
But so, yep.
Did you hear? So there's been critique of Bill Burr saying the existence of Bill Burr in Star Wars implies there's a space Boston. Because he has that strong Boston accent. So they asked Bill Burr, what do you think about that? And he said, fuck those nitpicky nerds.
I love that. But so yeah, we get to see Mando's face.
Even though we all know what Pedro Pascal looks like.
Yeah. I mean, we all know. I mean, what a handsome man. What a handsome man. But so you get to see Mando's face in that episode, but then in the last episode, you get this scene where Grogu finally gets to see Mando's face, and it was the biggest callback. Now there's many callbacks to not only the Skywalker saga, but just Star Wars in general within the Mandalorian, which obviously, I mean, it's Star Wars in itself. But you get this callback to the final scene between Luke and Vader in Return of the Jedi, where Vader, he's dying, right, and Luke's trying to get him off and get him off that's the second Death Star and save him, and Vader realizes that he's not gonna make it. He's done for. Yeah. It's over. Balance has been brought back to the Force, so to speak. Well, at the time we thought that, right? Then Skywalker trilogy continued, or saga continued. But Vader asked Luke to take his helmet off, his mask off, because he wants to look upon his son with his own eyes. And it wasn't until later on after the episode that caught my attention. But that's probably the biggest callback I've ever seen in Mando finally revealing his face to Grogu.
Yeah. And that's definitely a good tie together. And I won't lie, like when I was watching that, I had a big dad moment because we've all taken this father-son relationship with Mando and Grogu, and then even with the callback to Vader, that's a father-son moment.
Absolutely.
That's why he wanted to take his helmet off. He wanted to look at his son with his own face. So that's a deep connection between the two as well. That's awesome. Maybe it implies something more. Maybe Grogu did survive the massacre at Luke's temple and learned some of the Force, but left the temple and pursued the Mandalorian training style. So now he's like a slight Force user and a Mandalorian trained badass fighter.
Almost like a gray Jedi in a sense.
Yeah. Dude, that'd be badass. I'm not gonna Disney, if you're listening, I will throw all of my money at you for this series.
A Grogu series.
A Grogu Gray Jedi badass Mandalorian trained Force user. That is insane because the Mandalorians and Jedi are ancient enemies.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, Disney, I will throw money in for the funding for that fucking series. Every dime I got in my bank account will go right to you. I promise.
All
So,
right, but yeah, that would be sick.
so at the end of Mando, now
Yeah, we haven't even touched the biggest part of the actual series itself.
which is,
Well, okay, so as in my eyes, there's two more big ones,
mm-hmm.
but let's address the other big one that's not pivotal to this series. That ending scene, the post-credit scene,
Mm-hmm.
the Boba Fett. Dude, they did Boba Fett such great justice. The end of this series. Even his fight scene, like when he didn't even have his armor yet, he was straight up a barbarian. And that episode was directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Rob
Did you know that?
Rodriguez. Yeah.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah! So that's awesome too. And he just straight up bashed everything in. He was a badass. And then at the end, the post ending credit when he was sitting in Jabba's palace on the throne, and the book of Boba Fett. Like that's incredible.
Well, and that's another opening to another series. If the Mandalorian has done anything for the Star Wars universe, I think it has opened up numerous possibilities for series, for films, hell, I mean even for video games.
It rekindled the fire.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we've talked about it on the podcast before when we've discussed, the last trilogy in the Skywalker saga. Um, you and I both are kind of under the same. We enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was good, but obviously, because the internet is the internet, it gets a lot of hate, hate, and you could almost really say that Star Wars lost a lot of fans just from that trilogy. And I think the Mandalorian has really just not only brought all that was lost back, but then some. I mean, it's just been fantastic, and not only that, like it is Star Wars, but it's also the Mandalorian was kind of it was its own thing in a sense.
Yeah. Well, it was a new storytelling style. A new because the Star Wars, the Skywalker saga is essentially the ring structure of storytelling, and it's all supposed to be told from the point of view of 3PO and R2D2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they're pivotal, and it goes across all these people. But you notice R2D2 and 3PO are there for all of them,
Right?
Because it spans generations. This is a one person perspective storytelling. You have an actual protagonist that is going to follow, and it's Western style. Anytime you change up the format but keep something that's beloved, it's going to be fresh, it's going to be new, and people are going to love it.
Mm-hmm. So now,
unless you just suck at it.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, do you think that there was? So they probably could have fucked it up.
Possibly, if they didn't. So most of the time, in very geeky things, you can tell whether something's going to be successful or not by if they've taken it seriously or not.
Right.
Like, have they put actual production value into it? And does it look like they cared about that production value? So if you look at in the 90s when they were trying to do comic book movies and like video game movies, Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat movie, they were very cheesy and
campy almost.
Campy.
I mean, yeah, they were. Yeah, I mean, now granted, I love them, but it's like me and you have talked about before. We love them because we are true geeks. Okay, we're not gonna sit here and shit on everything just because it's not exactly the way we wanted. I don't give a shit. I love Mortal Kombat, the first film, because Liu Kang, fucking Raiden. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care about how cheesy and campy, and looking back on it now, maybe even shitty it was. It's fucking Mortal Kombat. I'm going to watch it over and over again because it's fucking Mortal Kombat. Like, I don't care.
Well, and I'm not even going to lie, dude. I love campy movies. Like, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I love watching, like, the worst movies you can find. Escape from New York. Like, it's a great movie, but it's campy as shit.
But it's a great movie in that fanboy aspect, that cult classic aspect. Like, yeah, it's film wise, it's not really a great film, but looking at it from a fanboy geek cult classic perspective, it's a masterpiece. You know, it's weird how that transition happens. It's like, if you got someone to watch, say, Escape from New York, and they're into, like, the Scorsese or even like rom-coms, like whatever, actual like films, and they watch this, they're like, what the fuck did you just make me watch? But then you have guys like us who are like, one of the greatest films of all time.
Right?
Like,
Can we watch it again? Do we have time?
yeah. Did you not catch that sick fucking one-liner right there? That was hilarious. Like, where were you at the whole time?
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, that's great about the Book of Boba Fett. But there's the one big point of this series, right? What's going to be driving the future plot?
Well, so at the end of it, Mando unwillingly or unwanting is the unknowingly is the owner of the Darksaber.
Yeah.
Which essentially makes him the
ruler of Mandalore.
The ruler of Mandalore.
Yeah.
So, and you know what's...
And he's going on Jon Snow. I don't want it.
Yeah, I never wanted it. What's funny, or what is interesting to me is that, you know, with Grogu going off with Luke to train at the new Jedi Academy, in a sense, I almost got this feeling like, where the fuck is the show gonna go now? Because Baby Yoda was a worldwide hit, you know. I feel like even the whole, you know, introduction to Baby Yoda almost brought a whole metric fuck ton of people in to actually watch the series, you know. So at the end of it, Baby Yoda's gone now. For all intents and purposes, he's no longer a part of the series, right? But
well, I mean, you never know.
You never know. But the way it looks, he's gone. So now it's like, well, where does the series go? But then you have this whole huge thing going on now with this Darksaber. Mando's made new enemies out of people he originally thought of as friends. Now
tons of lore behind it too.
Absolutely.
Tons of Star Wars lore.
Well, and now he's got to rule fucking Mandalore. And he does not seem equipped for that.
No, he doesn't want
it. He's very much so. It's funny because he you know, especially at like the beginning of the first season, throughout the first season and everything, he was very to the Mandalorian creed, you know. But you can still tell he's not fit to be a ruler. He's very Lone Ranger-esque. Even while being very to the creed and being very true to being a Mandalore, he's a lone wolf. He really does his own thing. But now,
I think Grogu might have changed that though.
Yeah, well, I mean, he definitely brought humanity to his Mandalorian side. You know, from his Mandalorian side. I mean, because he showed nothing there at the start, and now he's taking his fucking helmet off, for God's sakes. He's just lost all boundaries.
Right. Well, I mean, you got to think too. Like that happened after he met Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan explained to him their different thoughts and schools and and creeds of Mandalore. So that might have played a role in it too. But what's interesting is, you know, you have this Darksaber. No one can take it from him unless they defeat him in battle. That's what stopped Bo-Katan from like doing it right there on the fucking spot, just taking it from him. So, you know, I don't doubt that the whole next part of the series is going to be about the Darksaber, but I mean, if they've got to defeat him, oh well, no, I guess he didn't kill Moff Gideon whenever he defeated him.
They don't necessarily have to kill him; they just have to defeat him in battle. So it could be a very sportsman-like battle.
True. So it would be interesting because more people are going to want that Darksaber now that they know that nobody has it. And they're going to underestimate Mando too. And so now you're going to have people who he didn't even know were enemies coming to get the Darksaber from him and defeat him. I don't doubt they're going to introduce a Mandalorian villain as well.
Well, here's another thing too.
I'm calling that.
I think another reason why Bo-Katan didn't really try and take it from him right then and there. I mean, let's be honest. He's a fucking warrior, and I think somewhere inside of her, Bo-Katan knew she probably couldn't defeat him in battle. A one-on-one fight, I don't think she stands a chance. Regardless of whether he has the Darksaber or not.
I'm not gonna fucking lie. That fight scene between him and Moff Gideon with the Darksaber and his Beskar steel spear.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was like there was so much like Spartan energy going on in there. It was badass. And I'm not sure Bo-Katan could have taken him.
Well, and let's be honest, an epic fight scene is always better where the one you're rooting for is getting their ass whooped at the beginning, and then it comes around with some slick, like tactical shit. And it's like, okay, well, maybe they were just like letting them whoop their ass until, waiting for that right moment.
And then they give him a senzu bean and let him fight his son. Dad of the year. But yeah, totally. No, you get it. And everybody loves rooting for an underdog too. Like, Din Djarin is he was a foundling. He was in this obscure section of Mandalore. Like, you love, and even still, like, we've seen him as a gunslinger, but an actual combatant, we haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing him as just excel in that, thinking he was an underdog, was just such a rewarding thing to watch.
Right. Well, I'm really excited to see what the future of the Mandalorian has to hold. I'm really excited about all the doors that it's opened. It wasn't until the second season that we got a lot of the news on some of the new series and films that we get to look forward to in the future. Since we're on the topic of Star Wars, let's talk about the fact that Lucasfilms has taken back the reins with Star Wars games.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's amazing. That's Lucas, when Lucas was in charge of the games, those were amazing games. Shadow of the Empire and all those old classic Star Wars games.
Well, one of my still all-time favorites, probably still one of my number one favorite Star Wars games, was the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, but it was Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, which, by the way, the protagonist is, however, he's no longer canon, but one of my favorite Jedis of all time, Kyle Katarn, was the protagonist of that video game. But I'll tell you what, man, those old LucasArts Star Wars games, there was nothing more iconic than when you turn that game on and you get that LucasArts graphic on the screen, and the little stick figure will take a part of the graphic, and that's its lightsaber, and it'll start slashing and hitting blaster shots. That was iconic to me.
The nostalgia tickles me when I see it.
Absolutely. Well, and so previous Star Wars games, for the most part, have been made by EA, and they really haven't had the best reviews.
They EA'd it up.
Right. I mean, you had Jedi Fallen Order, the one of the latest ones. They did Battlefront, the newest Battlefront and Battlefront 2. Truth be told, I did not like those. I'm an original Battlefront 2 guy. The original Battlefront 2 was an epic Star Wars game. Very epic. But EA also did The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed 2. Now, those were great games. But EA's
Fallen Order wasn't bad either.
Fallen Order wasn't bad. It really wasn't. It introduced a new story, a new Jedi, and it was great. It was kind of a fresh thing within the Star Wars games. But even still, EA's just kind of they really haven't done as well as people wanted them to when it comes to Star Wars games, which is why I'm really excited for Lucasfilms to be taking back over the reins. Just because you're getting that source back into it. These are the people who work within the world of Star Wars, and so they're the ones calling the shots again.
Right. Well, I mean, it's kind of like when Bethesda bought id, and they started making Doom, but they bought id. Id just became part of Bethesda, and they continued working. So, it's whenever you have that original group that was doing the games when they were great, it's always going to be, pretty good.
Right. Well, and so apparently, Lucas Games is working with Ubisoft on an open world Star Wars game.
That's gonna be amazing.
I'm telling you right now, dude. Not only is this podcast apparently centered around fucking Star Wars, but my Twitch streams are going to be centered around Star Wars when that game releases. 100%. And you know what? I don't even care.
We're not going to see you anymore. Are we?
No, not at all. I don't even care if the game fucking sucks, man. You give me an open world Star Wars game, dude. I'm gonna be like, like Cartman on South Park over here with Mountain Dew, Doritos, naked, pooping in a bucket,
More hot pockets.
Yeah, non-stop playing this game. I'm quitting my fucking job. It's all over for me, man.
Oh yeah. Well, I was reading that it's being made in the same engine as the Division. So I mean, if it's similar to that in an open world, that's gonna be badass, dude.
So I'm kind of 50-50 on that, only because I have only played the Division 2.
Mhm.
However, I have some buddies through PSN who religiously play the Division. However, they have stuck with the Division 1 because the Division 2 is very clunky as far as the
Mhm.
gameplay goes. And even though it's been out for quite a while now, even with updates and patches and things like that, they still have not fixed that. So that is my only concern with that. The engine itself is it has the capability to be good. Like I said, the Division 1 still has a very big fan base,
Right.
which is actually kind of mind blowing in a sense. So it has the potential to be great. It does, but they really need to step it up this time.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It'll
Well,
be interesting to see. I mean, if it looks good, I'll definitely hop on it and play it.
so let's step away from Star Wars. I know, right?
Audible gasp.
I know, right?
Clutching my pearls.
Never thought you'd see this coming, did you, chat? But let's talk about Marvel. I mean, this is the End of the Geek Matrix podcast. We are
Oh
on here to
man.
talk about any and all things geek related. So
Oh
let's
dude,
talk about the MCU, dude.
I am such a long time comic book. I mean, I read comic books when I was a teenager, dude. Like I love these Marvel and DC. I read a lot more Marvel than I did DC.
Right.
But you know, MCU, which is now owned by Disney. Disney is just. I mean, this. I think this is pretty much a Disney podcast.
Fuck, man. Now that I think about it, yo, how about a sponsorship, Disney? Like what?
I am not sure that we are the ones that Disney wants to be
Yeah,
sponsored.
they still do try and kind of try and pull for that family friendly thing.
Mm.
However, they're kind of contradicting themselves now because we just got news that Deadpool 3 is not only under development, but it is part of the MCU. It is going to be their first R-rated MCU film. And that's under
that's
Disney. So,
that's awesome.
I mean, I am so excited for that. But you know what excites me the most about the MCU right now?
What?
And I don't know if you felt the same way I did, but after watching Endgame,
Mm.
10 years, this whole culmination of films brought together and then ending. I almost got this sense of depression after it because you got this 10-year span of just badassness and then
Oh man.
it's done with. It's done with. And so one of my first thoughts after watching Endgame is like, fuck, man, now this is over. Like
Yeah.
where do you go from here? Like what do? You spent 10 years building up to this, and now you finish it. This is all
Mhm.
over with. I've spent over, a good part of my
I'm
life involved
I'm
in this.
invested now. We're
Yeah.
invested. We're in this together. Where
Yeah.
are you going?
God damn it. Like what are you doing? You're just going to get me close to it but not let me finish? Like what's happening?
Tease.
Yeah. That's just like you.
Yeah, no, I mean it's phenomenal. I'm excited for Deadpool, and you know what would be great, and since it's now officially MCU, is if he starts showing up in other movies, and if he shows up in like an Avengers movie and is PG-13. You know how PG-13s are allowed to drop one F bomb, right?
Right. They get that one.
No, not even that. He like Deadpool could play with the whole fourth wall of it, like say, "Oh, don't worry, I know this movie's PG-13. I only get one F bomb. Don't worry, I'm saving it for something good." Like saying it to the rest of the Avengers, and they have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, or but like he says that, but you don't know when he's waiting to do it, and so then it just comes
Exactly.
at the most like inopportune time. You're like, what the fuck, Deadpool?
Oh man, I wasted it.
Yeah, fuck. Oh wait, fuck. And then he comes
Oh
back
man,
in. I guess we got to change the rating of this one now.
yeah, dude. I think they're gonna have a lot of fun with Deadpool and MCU. It's gonna be great. The so much of the fourth wall breaking is what makes Deadpool such a great part of the Marvel comic universe.
Mm.
They had a whole comic series called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, and he kills the Marvel Universe, literally everyone. And when he kills Professor Xavier, like he's trying to read, Xavier's trying to read his mind. He's like, "Oh, you want to see my mind?" And he grabs him, and Xavier's like, "I had no idea," and his head explodes because he tries to read Deadpool's mind.
Well,
Because Deadpool knows they're a comic book.
You know what really makes me so happy is that not only with Deadpool, but even like with, like Sony having the rights to like Spider-Man and stuff like that, how they're now all coming to an agreement and coming together. Because that was a big fear of mine, is like when they first started making the new Spider-Man films, and then Venom came out, under Sony, and now they're kind of coming to this common agreement, and now everything can tie together. Because I mean, if the younger generation that doesn't necessarily read the comics, I almost feel like there's this misunderstanding, or like they don't realize that, whether it's X-Men, Deadpool, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, they all live within the same world.
Except for the two separate universe, or the multiple separate, because there's also Image Comics and stuff like that. But yeah, DC and Marvel don't live together.
No, I'm saying as far as the MCU, like all of that, whether it's X-Men, Fantastic Four, Avengers, all of that falls under the MCU. I mean, there's numerous storylines and comics where, the X-Men join up with the Avengers, or Spider-Man and the X-Men, like whatever it is, they all live within this same world. But, like the younger generation, I feel like there's this disconnect, and they don't realize that. They see these as this is Marvel, but they're these kind of standalone type things. And that's not the case. That's what's so great about the MCU. And that's also kind of where the DC universe has failed, is that there's so many possibilities. We could be continuing to watch the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at phase 100 till the day we die. They could continue this on, and they could keep it going forever. And with the way they make their films, it's never going to lose its luster.
Yeah. Well, and like I told you, I was a huge comic book geek, and let me show you the level of nerdiness I have here. So, and most of us like who are familiar with the comics and Marvel Universe, a geeky level, know that it's a multiverse and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's massive, like the amount of stories that are in this, because now that you recognize there's a multiverse, there's infinite versions of the worlds. So literally anything can happen, and that's when you get into like all the what if movies. I think they were actually planning to make a Marvel what if.
There is. It's the What If series. It's going to be on Disney Plus. It'll be a series.
Yeah,
and so as a matter of fact, Robert Downey Jr. will be reprising his role as Tony Stark, I believe, in one of the episodes, something like that. So
yeah, but all of them, and they're all in this one multiverse, right? And even DC and Marvel in the comics has actually crossed over. Wonder Woman was actually able to wield Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. But I think all the main stories of Marvel in the comics takes place on, I believe it's Earth 616, and the fact that that's all already built in the comics, the MCU can draw from literally any of that.
Right.
And they have carte blanche on what they can do and what they can write. They could write anything as long as they frame it properly within the multiverse that Marvel Comics has already created. So that's incredible. And you're right. The MCU could go on for thousands of years.
The possibilities are quite endless. I mean,
infinite.
Yeah, infinite. There's infinite. Well, which actually, even the DC universe. I mean, if they would get their shit together and do it right, I mean, you have the infinite Earths,
right?
In the DC universe. Yeah, I mean that could go on.
Also,
forever.
Flashpoint.
I mean, you have all that. And that's what's so fantastic about it, is that it can just keep on going, and as long as they just don't make something shitty, it'll continue to be loved, and people will continue to want to see it.
Yep, absolutely.
So, as far as the MCU goes, we just recently, yesterday, as a matter of fact, got the first 2 episodes of the, well, let's see, it's been quite a while, but the newest thing to come to the MCU, WandaVision.
Right. Yeah, that released yesterday.
Yep. So, what do you think so far?
Dude, I really enjoyed it. So I'm a huge I'm a film nerd too, and I even to the aspects of like cinematography and stuff like that, and how they transition certain things.
Mhm.
Um, so I thought it was fantastically done. Because they're bringing that very like what is it like 50s vibe of
50s,
television,
yeah.
Bewitched,
The
and
50s
stuff like that.
sitcom era.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was very Bewitched, and the way they're transitioning, because you're watching this and you're like, well, this can't be the whole show, and then you start finding out there are deeper things at play and stuff like that, and the way they're transitioning from that, like how when she first started seeing color
Hmm.
everywhere, she saw the red
Helicopter.
helicopter, and then the woman cut her hand and she saw the red blood, and then shortly after that, color splashed into the entire world. And it's really cool how they're kind of organically transitioning things.
Hmm.
And the reason why that impressed me when I caught that is because one of my favorite movies is Inglorious Bastards.
Hmm.
And in Inglorious Bastards, the way they transitioned to English from French at the beginning of the movie was, I thought, was like really brilliant from a director standpoint. Because he's saying they're speaking in French the whole time because he's a French farmer. And then in the middle of the conversation, he's like, "I've exhausted my French. I've told you speak English. Do you mind if we switch over to
Hmm.
English?" And then for the rest of the movie, it's in English. And that was a really cool, like, organic, story-driven transition. And that's what they're doing with WandaVision, with the long run of this plot, from what it looks like. Because obviously, from what we've seen, there's something deeper play going on. There was the radio, somebody calling her name.
Yeah. Well, there's these moments where she just kind of freezes, and it's like she's not
Right.
understanding what's going on. Um,
But then there are moments where she has complete clarity too, because
yeah.
there's moments where she knows what's going on, and then like when
Hence the
Vision,
reversal at the end.
yeah, the reverse time when she saw the beekeeper, and when she told Vision to remove the food from his boss's throat with his powers,
Hmm. Well, I
you
also
know.
I also saw something interesting that I didn't quite realize until I saw it. But if you pay close attention, so like the first episode is very bewitched 50s sitcom kind of. If you
Right.
watch going into the second episode, and especially going into when the color starts getting implemented, but if you pay attention to the second episode, the theme of it, which is kind of hard to tell, just because obviously
Mm.
we didn't really grow up in that era, but it's kind of hard to tell. But the actual theme of the second episode kind of falls more into a 60s television vibe. So
Yeah.
I read something where that kind of color transition could also be just the progression of I guess essentially time in television, right? So
Yeah,
so
I got
about
that feeling when I saw it.
going into like the 70s era is when color really started becoming popular. So now that could be caused the color being implemented could be caused by Wanda, us kind of figuring out what's actually going on behind the scenes, right?
Mm.
Or it could just be a progression within the show of I guess time and television.
Right. Yeah, I think that's definitely the theme they were going for with that, because I got that feeling when I was watching. I was like, oh, cool, they're like traversing through times
Mm.
and stuff like that. It would have been cool if they'd have done like a Technicolor, like
Yeah.
did the Technicolor phase first, and before
Right.
they went into like real color.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did get that feeling, and it was really cool. And like I said, from a director standpoint, like that theme, the way they did it, and everything, it's awesome. I give super huge props to the director of WandaVision, because that is some really solid work.
Well, we also got a lot of hints at what could potentially be what's going on.
Yeah,
Who's in
some
control?
Easter eggs,
What's
a
happening?
bunch
Yeah,
of Easter
a
eggs.
lot of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
For one, we get the color. We get a lot of symbols, especially
Mhm.
throughout that second episode. One of which you actually see, I believe, twice, and it's the sword emblem, which is
Yeah.
actually an organization within the comic books. Sword, they're essentially the shield of space, um, which I thought was
Yeah,
quite
it's
interesting.
well, no, it stands for Sentient Weapon Observation. Shit, what does the RD stand for? Yeah, it's basically a separate branch of whatever Shield is, but they're like guarding sentient weapons,
Right.
things they deem sentient weapons. Which a woman who, and in the MCU so far, they haven't shown very much of Scarlet Witch's powers. They've only shown like her hex blasts, really. Um, Scarlet Witch in the comics has the ability to completely control reality,
Mm.
and I think that's kind of what this show is leaning into because. Whenever you hear the radio, who's doing this to you, Wanda? Who's and stuff like. I think Wanda is making this whole reality, and like they're kind of introducing this reality warping power of hers.
Yeah. Well, and so we also right at the end of that second episode, Wanda just miraculously ends up pregnant. And so in the comics, I know she does end up getting pregnant. She has to actually use her powers
Yes.
to get herself pregnant, and she ends up having twins, just like her and her brother. And one of which they both grow up. They grow up to both be in the Young Avengers. One of which is his name is Wiccan. He essentially has the same kind of powers as her, and the other one I can't remember his name, but he's a speedster essentially, just
Nice.
like Wanda's brother.
Quicksilver.
Yep. So it would be. It's gonna be interesting to see what if that's what it is, or if it's something totally different.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think I was reading something earlier. The writers and directors read essentially every piece of source material for Wanda and Vision, and they said they were writing something that was new, but they're drawing from just about every single arc that they could find that they liked and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where they go with it and what comes out of it because this is, according to them in the article I was reading, this is something new.
So we also got some Easter eggs with Hydra, which is a terrorist organization within not only the MCU but the comics as well.
They're Nazis. They're Nazi terrorists.
Yeah, one of which is a watch. It's a watch commercial that just kind of happens within the episode, and the watch, the company is called, and I know I'm probably fucking this name up. Strucker.
Von Strucker.
Von Strucker, that's right. And so that's the name of the watch company, but then you get a picture of this watch right at the end of the commercial, and you see the Hydra emblem on the watch. So it's going to be really interesting to see, are they like the big bads of this show, or what's really going on there?
Oh, I mean, in the MCU, Hydra's always like just around the corner of some other fucking nefarious plot on an Earth-based level.
Well,
they're one of the big bads of the whole of Earth in general.
I know we have 7 episodes left in the series. They signed on for 9 right now. So if the progression keeps going the way it is, I mean, because even with the entirety of the episodes basically being them within this this television world, we still get those hints that like something else is going on. Something's going on with Wanda. Something else is happening. And since we've already kind of gotten a look into that, I suspect each episode going forward is going to reveal a lot of things.
Oh yeah. They've made it pretty clear in the episode that this is not like the real world. This is something inside Wanda because they showed the shield emblem on the notebook of the person listening in. Somebody calling in the radio, like she's being observed, and I mean that's the whole thing with SWORD, sentient weapon, observe, whatever the RD stands for. They're observing Wanda. So what I got is that she's unconscious and they're observing her, and she's like in this dream state creating this, but I don't know if it's like all in her head or she's actually manifesting this or whatever. But.
Well, and that would make sense. Like given the ending of the first episode, you don't see the guy, but you see his hand. He's kind of it pans out, and he's watching this television screen. He's watching like WandaVision, and he's kind of jotting down things in this notebook. So that would make sense in that aspect because I guess maybe on the other side of those screens that you don't see is like Wanda maybe laying down on some type of table or whatever within that dream state.
Right.
So
and then there's a lot of shit that's just we don't even know. Like, who the fuck's the beekeeper? Like, who is that? Why is there a random beekeeper coming out of a sewer?
Yeah. Is it the beekeeper from the comic books, or is it just a dude swarmed by bees? We don't know. Speaking of the MCU, we also got news that Chris Evans has signed on to reprise his role as Cap.
That's fantastic. Chris Evans really owned that. That's America's ass. He really, really cut that role for himself. You know, I think he is on level of doing Captain America the way that Hugh Jackman did Wolverine.
Mm.
You know, he's going to be in our minds as Captain America, and like anybody they try to replace with him just isn't going to fill it out. Although I have seen some pictures of Carl Urban as Wolverine, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not hating it.
That would be badass. It's kind of one of those things. Going back to talk to the Mandalorian. Luke's appearance, Mark Hamill's appearance on there, it was very short, and of course they used CGI to make him look younger.
Yeah, but he still looked more real than he did in the holiday special.
Yeah, I did see that picture side by side. Yeah, that was actually very interesting. But I wouldn't be upset with them picking a new actor and then kind of making a series based around Luke creating his new Jedi Academy. I wouldn't be upset with that. I mean, yeah, just like any fan of anything, it sucks to not see that original actor, playing that iconic character.
Yeah.
But we're all adults. We know people get older, things age, but we all still want that we want to see it. We want to see those characters themselves, not necessarily the actor playing them. So I wouldn't be upset with them choosing a younger actor to play Luke. Just like we all know Hugh Jackman's gotten older. Hugh Jackman has already pretty much ended his role as Wolverine with Logan. So, I wouldn't be upset with a new. Goddamn, Carl Urban would be a badass Wolverine.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I mean, he's awesome as Billy Butcher. And that's about as Wolverine gets. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell yeah. He's British Wolverine.
Yeah, dude, that would be sick. But we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier that will be coming out on Disney Plus
right
before too long, and apparently some things I've read is kind of stating that one of the things going on in that series is kind of them essentially not necessarily battling one another but each one kind of trying to see if they can live up to that mantle that Cap has left behind. So seeing when and how Chris Evans comes back as Cap, and it would be nice to kind of see Falcon and the Winter Soldier first, and then have Chris Evans come back and maybe tie that in together to see who does end up taking over that mantle.
Right.
I mean, obviously, Bucky was Cap within the comics at a certain point, and
so was Sam.
Yeah, the mantle's changed within the comics. It's going to be interesting to see how Chris Evans is going to reprise his role as Cap.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll do like Old Man Cap, or if he's going to come back as like Young Man Cap. Like, they did so much time jumping with him at the end there, and like so many different universes. There's no telling. Like, the sky's the limit for what they can do to bring Chris Evans back as Cap.
Well, and here's a little nugget of knowledge for you. I don't know if you knew this or not. So at the end of Endgame, we see Old Man Cap, right?
Yeah.
Well, there has been talk that originally the plan was, because Stan Lee made a cameo in every MCU film, right? There was originally talks that at the end of Endgame, Stan Lee was supposed to play Old Man Cap, and then so what it is that every time you saw Stan Lee within the MCU, it was technically Old Man Cap, basically overseeing everyone. And by God damn it, would that not be epic?
That would have been fucking epic. I am not gonna lie.
I mean, could you imagine the end of Endgame when Cap turns around? Of course we were all shocked because we're like, okay, that's Chris Evans, that's Old Man Cap, holy shit. But he turns around and it's fucking Stan Lee, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? You've been here the whole time? Just watching over everybody? Like, what?
Well, I did hear another theory about Stan Lee's cameo. So there's a character in the comics called the Watcher. He's part of this. Like,
you see him with the Watchers because you see the, God damn it, I can't remember which film it is, but it's one of the ending cutscenes, and you actually see him and you see Stan Lee in space. So that's kind of where that theory I think originated from.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that he's everywhere, he's watching everything happen.
Yep.
But yeah, that'll be exciting. And then the seeing Bucky and Sam in a show is going to be just awesome. I'd love to see what they do with that.
So going back to a different comic book, or going to a different comic book universe,
Yeah, well, can you really talk about Marvel without touching on DC?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, in my mind, even though they're two different universes, they go hand in hand. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have great characters in both of their rights. Like,
Absolutely.
we got Captain Marvel, we got Batman in DCU, Superman. I mean, come on, they're great, well-known characters.
So before too long, finally, I believe we're projected for a March release, and it'll be releasing on HBO Max. We are finally going
HBO
to get
Max.
the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League.
That dude, I'm gonna be glued in front of the TV the moment that drops.
Dude, oh my god, I'm so excited for that. And apparently, um, Harry Lennox, who was an actor in one of the films, I can't remember which one, but he plays a colonel, and he's actually supposedly he is John Jones, and he is actually going to be
Yeah,
coming back for the Snyder Cut as Martian Manhunter.
I did hear about that. I heard when he didn't even know when they cast him in that role he was going to be the Martian Manhunter.
Hmm. Which
That's
I think
insane,
yeah,
dude.
that's just great on their part. They're like, yeah, I can play this character. And like, oh wait, you got a bigger role, dog.
Yeah, and you gotta think, like, as an actor, like, you thought you got this. Okay, I got this, a few lines, some walk-on parts. I got my foot in the door. All right, let's do this. They're like, oh, by the way, you did so well in the audition. We gave you a part of a superhero.
Wait, what the fuck? Thank you.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Well,
So
and
yeah, I'm excited for that.
apparently, since we've gotten so much, new news concerning the Snyder Cut, originally we thought Ben Affleck was kind of done being Batfleck, but he is apparently now. I don't know if this is just speculation or if it's actual fact, but there's definitely things going around the internet stating that Ben Affleck has signed on to do further films and television as Batman.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can really walk away from the Batman role. I'm sure if they asked Michael Keaton, even Val Kilmer, like, I bet $10 if they asked Val Kilmer to get his ass into shape to be
Oh,
Batman.
absolutely.
You can't walk away from Batman.
I mean, it's fucking Batman. Like, how could you say no to that? You know?
And it's Ben Affleck, so we all know he's a geek too. I mean, and he hangs out with Kevin Smith,
Right.
and Kevin Smith probably got in his ear when he heard, like, they're looking to
Like,
get him
dude,
back as
fuck
Batman.
yes, you're doing that.
Yeah, what are you, stupid? You could be Batman. Haven't you heard the phrase? Always be yourself unless you could be Batman. Then be Batman. You
Yeah.
can literally be Batman.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? Even the actual Justice League film gets a lot of hate. Batman vs Superman gets a lot of hate, but it's kind of like, you and I have talked about numerous things like this. I enjoyed it simply because it was Batman.
Yeah, and I get the hate. Like, granted, we just when they started cranking those out, we had sat through the MCU. It had done something phenomenal.
Everyone
and
was
people,
expecting a lot from it.
yeah,
Given how great the MCU had been doing, they were expecting the DCEU to kind of step it up.
absolutely, and they kind of half expected it to be mid-roll because that's where an MCU was. I think they were in, like, what, phase 2 or 3 when all the DC movies. Well, technically not. Like, Superman Returns came out a while ago, and that's technically DCEU. But
Yeah, but
you know what I
I
mean.
technically started off with, like, Man of Steel. That's kind of
Man of Steel,
where
yeah.
I base it from, just because that's just kind of really when it started to take off.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, like, I get some of the hate for it, but they were still good movies. Like, Jason Momoa as Aquaman was fantastic.
The
Even
Aquaman
Gal,
film was amazing.
yeah. Even Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman's just incredible. And
Well,
I
because she's
watched,
fucking hot too.
well, and I watched Wonder Woman, and it kind of got me because the fight scenes were essentially 300, which it was
Mhm.
still cool as hell. Uh, but the whole thing they've built up to something cool, and they were building up to it, and then it was a tragedy that Snyder had to step away and he couldn't complete his vision, and they called in was it Joss Whedon,
Yeah.
which I love Joss Whedon too, but when you're in the middle of a stride in a project and you have to hand it off to somebody and with barely any time to show them what you were doing, I can understand.
I think kinks are to be expected in a situation like that.
Right, and I think that's kind of what killed, the the Batman and Superman and the Justice League movies. Um, I think that's probably what happened to it because it probably would have been cool, which is why the Snyder cut is so awesome because they recorded new scenes for it. They're including other scenes that weren't there, plot points that weren't absolved. I read somewhere that we may even see Darkseid in it. So.
Yeah, apparently, Darkseid is gonna be like the main big bad in this one, from what
As
I've
he
read.
should be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it just makes sense because in Batman vs Superman, you get this whole fucking Batman's visions of what's to come, and obviously that's Darkseid, but then we get the Justice League film, and Darkseid's nowhere to be seen. Like
Right.
what the fuck is that? Why tease me again? Why tease me and then not let me finish?
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean? It doesn't make any
And
sense.
that might have been too, like Joss might have been, because Joss was coming from the MCU, as I recall, and he might have been trying to set up for like multi films, working from that DCU mindset instead of you're going to show the big bad in the first movie, and you know, and then there also may have been he may have wanted to save the dark side or save Darkseid for Snyder when he came back too.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that could happen there, but yeah, they should have. That definitely felt like it should have been straight up just Darkseid, not doing Steppenwolf. You could have shown Steppenwolf. He could have been like a number one or something like that. But
Yeah.
no, you definitely want to see Darkseid.
I'm really excited for it. Like I said, I believe we got a March release on that. However, given COVID and all that shit, I mean, it could be delayed again. Hopefully not. We also, I don't really want to call this a trailer per se. It's more so a teaser, but we got a teaser into an Indiana Jones game.
Yeah, right? By Bethesda.
Yeah. Which I am really excited for. I'm a huge fan of games like, Tomb Raider, the Uncharted series, those things where you get some action, you get some adventure, you get some puzzle solving and things like that. And that essentially is what Indiana Jones is.
Zelda.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited for that. I'm sure there was one years ago when the films were being released, but I've never played an Indiana Jones game. I think it's going to be fucking sweet to use things like his whip to swing across, over platforms and things like that. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Oh yeah, and I'm a huge Bethesda fanboy, so I mean I play everything they freaking make. So I'm definitely excited for it. One, because it's Indiana Jones, and I mean what geek doesn't love Indiana Jones? And two, it's a Bethesda game, so it'll probably have some glitches, but be fun as hell.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bethesda, as most of us all know, are also the developers of the Elder Scrolls. And originally, I had read that people suspected that Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be halted because of Indiana Jones, but however, you mentioned earlier that is not the case.
Yeah, they released a statement saying that it's not going to impede the release of Elder Scrolls 6, the development of the Indiana Jones game, and they also released a tweet, a pretty cryptic tweet, a map of Tamriel and a quote about the past and future of Tamriel with candles in 3 different places. And a lot of the internet seems to think that the new Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be set in Hammerfell, home of the Redguard.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really excited for that, man. I love Skyrim. Elder Scrolls Online is a lot of fun. I really need to go back and replay Skyrim.
Skyrim's great. Oblivion was awesome. Morrowind was fantastic.
I just love that genre in general. I mean, you throw in some magic, some swords, fucking goddamn dragons. Like that's me all day.
Sword and sorcery, man. Sword and sorcery.
I love it, man. I love it.
Hell yeah.
Well, so what games have you been playing lately?
So lately, I have been playing a lot of Ark Survival Evolved. For anyone who hasn't played Ark Survival Evolved, it's survival. It's one of the many survival online games. It's still technically in early access, like most of the online survival games. There is crafting, building, and dinosaurs, and you tame these dinosaurs, build armies. It's really been a blast. I've got flying dinosaurs. I've got working dinosaurs. You train a T-Rex and ride it. Riding a T-Rex and harvesting meat from other dinosaurs is one of the funnest things I've done in a while. But it's a blast, and building everything up and working through the crafting progression is there's a whole like RPG-esque progression to it as well. So it's really great, and you can play it online with your friends. I've been having a blast with it. Building so much stuff, trying to build up a dino army so I can go fight the boss. It's been fantastic.
Well, I know you've really been
Uh,
talking it up through our conversations. I'm actually looking forward to actually getting to play it and see what it's all about here soon. And actually get geared up to start playing Arc 2 whenever it releases. So I'm really looking forward to that. Right now, man, yeah, like always, I'm still kind of stuck on the first person shooters. You know, Apex, Call of Duty Cold War just released. When they do their next update for Season 1 Reloaded, they'll be adding in League play, which I'm really excited for. Might even try to get back into some wagers and tournaments in Call of Duty. See what that's about, unless I just end up wanting to blow my brains out like Call of Duty usually makes me want to do. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But, man, it's great to have you back.
it's great to be back, man. I'm really glad. I always enjoy doing these, and it's been a great time.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's fun. I mean, these are the conversations that you and I just have, you know, IRL anyway, and so it's really good
Right.
to just you know, just like any other time, it's just hanging out and talking about shit that we just love and enjoy, and then
Oh
just
yeah,
love
dude.
talking about, and you know, diving deep into it and speculating and theorizing and you know, seeing if we're correct.
I could talk about geeky shit all day long, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. By the way, enter the Geek Matrix fans. John and I will be coming back with Dungeons and Dragons streams. The
That's
next one will
right.
be next Saturday. That
Next Friday.
is next Friday. Yep, yep. I'm sorry. We're actually changing the day to Friday. Now that's not to say that it will always be changed to Friday from here on out. Again, as y'all know, we mentioned before, scheduling is an issue with all of us. You get you know, 5 or so people together trying to do something, and we all have, you know, jobs, kids, wives, lives. So
This is actually a running meme in the D&D community about not being able to coordinate.
yeah, yeah. So that date is the 22nd of January. We'll have a live D&D stream. It's gonna be a lot of fun. God, dude, I'm really fucking excited to fucking play D&D again.
I'm excited to get back to it, man. We're running the Curse of Strahd. Strahd is such a great Dungeons and Dragons villain. It's a great module, and then I homebrew the crap out of stuff. So there's probably going to be a lot of improv in there too.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I hope to see you all there for it. This episode, if you missed it, if you came in late, will be uploaded by next
Friday by 3.
Friday. Next Friday by 3 on the YouTube channel. If you haven't already, all that is linked down below my channel to the YouTube. Be sure to go like, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you can't make it to the live show for the podcast, go watch the video. Turn on those notifications. You'll know exactly when it's uploaded.
Hit that bell.
Yes, sir. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter. That's where you can keep up to date not only with the Matrix streams, but the podcast, as well as the D&D sessions, and also just shoot the shit back and forth with us, you know? Also, link down below is the Matrix Discord. I have changed that name 2 times within the past month. It is the Matrix. You are entering the Matrix. Go get in the Discord, man. We're constantly in the Discord talking, sharing memes, posting food, sharing recipes, talking shit. It's a lot of fun. I love the Discord. I love everyone we have in it. I love the community. Be sure to join
Absolutely.
that. I believe I have a non-expiring link down below. Click on that. Go join. If you haven't joined already, what the fuck are you doing? Okay?
Do it now. Do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Do
Do
it!
it. Do it.
Um,
Oh, Palpatine.
much love to each and every one of you. Just a heads up, we will have a Matrix stream on Monday. However, college starts back on Tuesday. So the stream schedule will change up a bit. However, that will not affect the podcast or the D&D sessions, considering that we do that on weekends. So that will not be affected. However, it will affect my regular streams. So just be sure to go follow me on Twitter, because that'll help you kind of keep up to date with things like that. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast. I hope maybe you
I know
learned.
I did.
Absolutely. I hope either A, you learned something. We elicited some thoughts within your minds about what's happening with some of the things we talked about. If you have any questions, comments, any topics you want us to discuss, comment down below. Comment on the YouTube. Send me a DM. I don't give a damn what it is. Let us know if it's something we haven't watched, seen, or read. I guarantee you we will